Next, we still have a more special report from Kun Vichitra Dongdi, and the discussion is she talked with the Noriyuki Chikata, a Deputy Cabinet Secretary for Public Affairs of the Prime Minister's office in Japan. Well, the talk was about how the Prime Minister expects and about the measures of our rehabilitation program.
Yeah, and also what measures they can also give to the affected employees which were affected by the Thai floods. Let's hear it right here.
Regarding the situation in Thailand, this has been widely broadcast in the Japanese media, and we are paying very close attention to evolving situations in Thailand. And we are trying to do all-out efforts to help the people of Thailand. And as far as Japanese companies' investment, we were reminded of the kind of how closely our two economies are linked in terms of, for example, auto production. There are some Japanese companies, back in Japan that have been having difficulties, because of the supply chain links. And we are of the view, that by overcoming, this natural disaster, we'll be able to recover the kind of investment that has been made. And I believe that many Japanese companies are very much committed to their investment in Thailand. And I guess we'll be discussing how the government could facilitate that kind of investment. And as a matter of emergency measures, we have reviewed or changed our the visa requirements to accept some of those Thai employees who are employed by Japanese companies in Thailand, and some of them are coming to Japan. So overall, we wish to keep our very close linkages, economic linkages, between the two countries. And in the context of regional issues, as I briefly mentioned, because of the appreciation of yen, there is a renewed interest on the side of Japanese companies, to go overseas, to invest. And and of course, this could apply to any other, ASEAN countries or East Asian Summit, participating countries. So we wish to, especially after our natural disaster, we wish to make sure, that we would not become inward-looking and try to engage ourselves to the rest of the world. And as for investments in rice farming in Thailand, sorry, I'm not aware of that specific project. It may, this is something that may be ongoing. If I would ask my press officer to look into it and see if there is such a plan. Yeah, thank you.
What the measures?
Well,
has it been?
we have been paying particular attention to humanitarian assistance, so far, and we are dispatching our experts, to Thailand, as you know, and after we would overcome, this emergency situation, we would be able to come up with concrete, ways for the government, if there is any place for the government to play, to resume or to realize resumption of Japanese companies' operations. But the main players are, those companies. And if there is room, for the government to play, this is something we wish to consider in the future. This is a bit, premature because we are focused on coping with, this emergency issues taking place in Thailand, and we wish to address these emergency issues.
Speaking about Thai workers, how are you going to help them and take them to Japan?
Right. So as I mentioned, that we have revised the system to accept Thai workers working for the Japanese companies in Thailand. So we are trying to facilitate, at least, so that those Thai workers working for the Japanese companies will not be out of job, for example. Yeah. Thank you.
Previous ASEAN summits have been focused on economic integration, trade facilitation, and economic cooperation. However, this particular year, the 19th ASEAN summit, has a particular looming issue, which is like an overture over the discussions. And particularly, the United States have made several moves with questionable motives. And here to discuss this in our show is our editor, Kun Thanong Kantong. สวัสดีครับ Kun Thanong.
สวัสดีครับ
So, Kun Thanong, what is this overture that's looming over this summit?
Yes, as you can see, I'm quite worried about the shift of the tone or the mood, of the ASEAN summit this year, which is quite different, from the last or the previous years. Whereas the forum has been focusing on trade facilitation and trade liberalization, and we're going to have a common market by the year 2015. But this year, the tone has shifted quite drastically to military priority, defense or security arrangement. And underlying this trend is the growing role of the U.S. To have, aiming to have a bigger presence, military presence, in this part of the world. It's you can say that the United States is going to take on China directly. The background is that the United States is quite uncomfortable with China's rise. As you know, U.S. has been charging that the Chinese have been keeping their currency artificially low in order to prop up its exports. But in fact, the U.S. is quite apprehensive about the strength of the Chinese renminbi, which potentially can emerge as the world's reserve currency. And that's the main reason that in the Honolulu APEC meeting, President Barack Obama announced the Trans-Pacific Partnership deals, which would include some members countries within the ASEAN, within the Asia-Pacific region. But this specifically excludes China. And when he came over to this part of the world to take part in the ASEAN summit, he visited Canberra first, and there Obama signed a very important military pact with Australia. In this pact, the U.S. would deploy 2,500 Marine Corps in the northern base of Australia.
So it's reinforcing its military capabilities in Australia first.
That's correct. And then this was followed by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She visited the Philippines, and she boarded the U.S. warship and signed a defense arrangement with the Philippines, sending a very strong message that the United States would back the Philippines in its dispute against China over the territorial disputes in the South China Sea. And when Clinton came over to Thailand, the tone has been somewhat subdued. But if you look into the statements by both Clinton and Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, you'll see that there is a tendency or a move toward a military cooperation between the two countries. There has been some discussion about the possibility of using both the Utapao Airport and the Don Mueang as a military hub. So there is an overtone, for this region is going to be, probably split up, as the U.S. is heading for a showdown with China.
With China directly. So these are not indirect or subtle messages. There are directly military announced establishments. They said previously that they would rekindle with old allies, but this is, would you say that this is rekindling or this is further than that?
Yeah, it's a build-up. Yeah, it's a sort of doing a checklist, because if you look at Asia, Pacific, Japan, South Korea, Australia, the Philippines, and Thailand are all allies of the United States. And now the United States, coming over to, reassert these own allies and also adding, new members to this bloc. So that's why the host this time, Indonesia, is have to play a very balancing act, because between the disputes between the U.S. and China, and also some members countries in the ASEAN, Indonesia will have to try to act as a go in between. It's clearly that the Philippines is going out, doing an all-out campaign against China.
What
So
about
by that, the positions of each of the country in ASEAN have changed.
Yes, if you look at Malaysia, I think Malaysia is trying to, keep it positioned unclear, whereas Thailand has hinted, toward having more cooperation with the United States. And Singapore is quite clear that Singapore has a very good relationship with the United States.
I see. So we're starting to clearly see what stances that each countries are taking. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more news in Thailand and the ASEAN region.